Hey, Richest, you money maniacs. This video I'm going to be talking about how to protect my or your real estate equity. Let's get right to it. So real estate equity, what is that? Let's say you buy a house at $100,000, but the value of the house in the marketplace is $200,000. You got it super cheap, maybe at a foreclosure, but it actually is comparable in other neighborhoods close by at $200,000. That means you have $100,000 in equity. What does that mean though? It's in a house. How do you spend that money? Well, there's a couple ways. The first way is that you could take a loan out, right, from the bank as an equity loan, and then you have to pay that back over time, just like your mortgage, right? So you're paying a mortgage payment and a home equity loan. A lot of folks do that to improve their home. They put on a pool, or they put on a deck, or they repaint, or they fix their roof. Sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes you have to. Sometimes they'll even just to cover taxes. The challenge is, though, now you've locked in a loan against what your home could have been sold for, that could have been profit for you, right? So now the bank is making more money off of you than it was before. Now, the wonderful thing about that for the bank is that it's locked in the value for itself, for the bank that is, on its asset, the home. Remember, because as long as the bank holds the note, it's the bank's asset. It doesn't matter that you live there or that you have a promissory note with them or that you have a contract signed with them. As long as they hold the note on that loan and they hold the title, it's their house. You just have the privilege of living there. And then, of course, when they give you that equity loan, now they've not only locked in the mortgage money as a profit generator for them, but now they've also locked in the market value as a profit generator for them in the form of an equity loan. Now, you can do the same thing. Now, first, let's talk about why you should consider something like this. Let's say you've got your mortgage for your $100,000 home and you're in a small town in the middle of the United States and not near a big metropolis. It's not a big deal, right? Except that everybody knows that the market is going to tank soon. Indexed funds is the bubble. It's already been talked about and predicted. It's going to happen. Also, all of the real estate regulations that were put in place to stop banks from being let's just say irresponsible with money in real estate that happened. Remember the bubble that happened in 2008 and they made all these laws to make sure banks couldn't do that? They've all been removed. The banks can do everything that they used to do before 2008. And guess what? They're doing it. Yeah, you know why? Because it makes them more money. And remember in 2008, who got bailed out? Not the American taxpayer. No. The American taxpayer paid to bail out the banks. People lost their pensions. People lost their savings. People lost their jobs, their homes, their futures. They came out of retirement because they couldn't afford to be retired anymore. They had to go back to work, which of course then took jobs away from younger people. But I digress. So the idea here is this is coming again. This is why you should consider protecting the equity in your home now. Let's take that $100,000 home and say, okay, it's worth $200,000 in the marketplace. You should lock that in before the crash happens, because when the crash happens, your $200,000 home in the marketplace probably won't be worth more than $50,000, maybe $30,000 or $40,000. And the worst thing of all is, it doesn't matter if you've ever missed a mortgage payment or not. The bank is going to come and foreclose on you. Now, why would they do that? Because they are desperate for liquid cash. They messed up. They've overextended themselves. They've put out too much, and now they've got to liquefy all their hard assets. Ah, right. Your house is their asset. Oh, yeah. Now I get it. Yes. It's their asset. And then they come and they say, you got to get out, or you can pay us the $100,000 that we loaned you. And of course, if you took out a home equity loan, well, then you got to pay us that too. And if you don't, we're going to take that house and then we're going to sell it for $75,000 or $60,000 or maybe the 30 or 40 or 50, just because we need the cash so bad. Oh man, we really messed up. Oh, we got to get this cash. Okay, same, just like the government, but they can get away with it. Why? Because as soon as they crash, the taxpayer will pay for it again. Congress will pass another bailout, and then of course people will lose the little bit of savings that they were able to generate since 2008, I should say. So back to the idea. How do you protect the equity in your home? Well, you've heard me talk about it many, many times before. It's called a laser fund. And the wonderful thing about a laser fund is once the money's in there, you get to use it tax-free. Oh, and by the way, if you happen to pass away, it multiplies by about 2.5 times so that your family gets 2.5 times the value of the insurance policy as well. And yes, you can use it while you're alive. And when you do use it, it's tax-free. Okay, so let's back up for a second. How do you do that? Well, your home is worth $100,000. The mortgage is $100,000. But the value of the home in the market is $200,000. So you take out a home equity loan. Wait a minute, I thought those were bad. No, those are good because you're going to take it out and you're going to use that to buy a laser fund. Wait a minute. Oh, so it's okay to use the bank money to buy the laser fund. Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. You're going to use their money to help make you money. Oh, I like the sound of that. Okay, got it? So you're going to take out a bank equity loan on the value of the difference between your mortgage and what your home market value is. So your mortgage is $100,000, you take out a home equity loan for $100,000 above that because the value of your home in the marketplace is $200,000. So now you have $100,000. Well, what do you do with it? Well, most people spend it, right? They go, like I said, and they do improvements, or maybe they buy a car, or maybe they send their kid to college. This suggestion is for you to put that $100,000 into the laser fund. You put it into your laser fund, and then that laser fund starts generating you interest every year. Now it's making you money, and it actually averages between 7 and 8%, but has consistently performed right around 10. But just for being on the conservative side, let's say 8%. We'll just say in between 8%. So 8% every year. Now remember, it's tax-free compounding. So the rule of compound interest now really just takes off. It just 8%, 8%, 8%, 8%, 8%, boom, it starts to explode, right? You can actually then have the market crash, right? And the value of your home go down. And the bank could even come to you and say, well, now you got to pay us that money back. And you could say, oh, well, I've got it. I don't have it. So, I've got the laser fund. So I could take that as collateral, right? That's $100,000 and take out a different loan and be able to pay them off. Or you can borrow against the laser fund and use that to pay them. So now here's the thing, right? What you've done with the laser fund is you've locked in the market value before the market crashes and your value goes down, right? Just like the bank does with the home equity loan. So now, well, what about the $100,000 mortgage? Well, they could call that due, except that you still have your $100,000 laser fund generating money for you every year, right? So you're making 8% off of that every year and growing and growing. So the idea here is that you're going to lock in the market value with a home equity loan that goes into a laser fund, because the laser fund is crash proof. You just look into it, go to liveabundant.com, ask them, read on it, and then ask them about how it works and why when the market crashes, it actually just is zero. And then when the market starts to go back up again, it performs about 8% average. Now, here's a real life example. I have a friend in Texas, actually, who is inheriting a house from his grandmother. She's just giving the house to him, no expense. He just has to pay utilities and taxes. Isn't that wonderful? Well, the house is worth about $250,000. He's going to take out a home equity loan of $250,000 while the market is still high. Put that all into a laser fund. Now you guys do the math, 8% on $250,000. That's no small amount. That's, I don't know, 30,000 a year or around there. So think about that for a second. He is overnight going to be generating year over year about 30,000 or more in a tax-free laser fund that he can then use for all kinds of different things. And if the market crashes and the value of his home goes down, then he doesn't have to think about, he doesn't have to sell the house, he doesn't have a mortgage, so the bank can't come after him. And even if the value does go down, he's already locked in the $250,000. Even if the value of his home went down to $25,000 or $30,000 because the market just really tanked, then he still has the laser fund of $250,000 generating him money. And actually, I think that 8% of $250,000 is about $20,000 a year. So actually, it's about $20,000. But the idea there is now he's making money off of what his market value used to be. How about that for a trippy idea? Money that he didn't even work for, right? Money that didn't even really exist, except that the bank said, well, the market says your home's worth $250,000 right now. We'll give you a home equity loan of $250,000. He takes that, puts it in a laser fund. Now the laser fund is making him about 8%, so $20,000 a year. $250,000 after the first year becomes $270,000. 270 times 8%, whatever that is, and then again 8%, 8%, 8%. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. And oh, by the way, he can pull that money out and borrow against it tax-free anytime he wants to. Or he could use the $20,000 as his just annual income if he wanted to. He could just stay at $250,000 and get $20,000 a year for the rest of his life tax-free, right? So a house and the value of it helped get his laser fund and get that revenue stream running almost overnight, at least in a year. Okay, it takes, you set it up and you have the year, or if you pay for the year up front, then you could probably work it out that in a few days you can start drawing. So the idea here is to protect your real estate equity. You want to pull out using a home equity loan and put that into a laser fund. Now make sure you talk to the folks at liveabundant.com because they are the experts on how a laser fund works, and it's absolutely vital that you work with somebody who really understands it so that you make sure you stay tax-free. That's the secret. Hey, Graham Stephan and Grant Cardone, if you guys aren't familiar with the laser fund and these strategies, I would strongly encourage you to go to liveabundant.com. Make sure you check this out. I think that it will change everything for you. In fact, I'd be very curious to see what you think once you actually go and you talk to them. I think you'll really enjoy what they have to say. Please let me know. I'd love to hear what you thought. All right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. We love it when you come by and visit. My Richest You Money Maniacs. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video and make sure you subscribe to our channel. And of course, if you really want to learn more about how to master money, make sure you click on the link down below in the description for our course, The Richest You Mastering Money. All right, see you next time, guys.